I had always believed that the routines of my life were unchangeable, that the predictability of my daily grind was the only path available to someone like me. Yet, on one seemingly ordinary Tuesday evening, my phone buzzed with a series of alerts that would shatter every assumption I had ever held about myself. It began innocuously enough, a single notification during a lull in my work, but that lone ping ignited a spark deep inside me. The alert wasn't from a work-related app or a social media ping, it was a discreet message from an unknown sender. Its text was minimal, almost cryptic: "Your escape awaits. Confirm your plans now." I stared at the screen, heart pounding as if trying to break free from the confines of my routine life. Who could be sending messages like this? And why would anyone, or even something, arrange a secret escape for me? My mind raced with both trepidation and anticipation. As the alerts continued to arrive in quick succession, each one more suggestive than the last, I realized that this was not some error or a marketing gimmick. It was a summons, a call to step beyond the boundaries I had so carefully constructed over the years. I spent the rest of the evening in a state of buzzing disbelief. Unable to shake the allure of the unknown, I slipped away from my desk at work under the guise of a pressing errand. The weight of the day's monotony suddenly felt unbearable compared to the promise of this clandestine escape. I fumbled with my phone as I gathered my things, each new alert igniting a fresh wave of adrenaline. Every message contained details: a luxurious address, coordinates to an upscale resort far from the city's chaotic pulse, and even a time for what they cryptically described as forbidden rendezvous. My heart raced as I realized that I was being invited into a world of opulence and unbridled indulgence, a world where the rules of my old life no longer applied. Before I could rationalize my decision, I found myself booking a last-minute flight. It was as though the alerts had hijacked my will, compelling me to act on the promise of a life unburdened by the mundane. I recall sitting in the airport lounge, my pulse thrumming with anticipation and fear, as I repeatedly checked my phone for further instructions. The notifications had given me an identity, a secret identity that promised liberation from the suffocating expectations of my everyday life. I began to wonder if this was some elaborate prank or if fate had finally decided to grant me the escape I'd always secretly craved. When I finally arrived at the upscale resort, a stunning architectural marvel nestled between shimmering blue waters and lush, manicured gardens, I was awestruck by the sheer extravagance that unfolded before me. The lobby was a blend of modern minimalism and classical grandeur, with sweeping marble floors, delicate chandeliers, and staff who moved with a quiet grace that bespoke years of refined service. I checked in under a pseudonym, one that had been suggested by the phone alerts, and was given a key card that felt like a passport to an entirely new existence. Every detail was meticulously designed to whisk me away from the drudgery of my former life. I spent my first day wandering the sprawling resort grounds, soaking in the ambience of hidden alcoves, private cabanas, and infinity pools that melted seamlessly into the horizon. It was as though I had been transported into a world where time itself seemed to stretch, every moment designed to make me forget the weight of my past. At twilight, when the sky turned a velvety shade of indigo and the first stars began to twinkle, I received another alert, a reminder of a secret date scheduled for later that night. The message was simple yet charged with forbidden promise: tonight at Club Nocturne. Embrace the allure. Club Nocturne was a name that resonated like a whispered secret. I had heard of it in passing, a haven for those who craved the kind of indulgence and freedom that society rarely allowed. It was said to be an exclusive club, accessible only to a select few, where the elite and the enigmatic mingled behind closed doors. With a mixture of nervous excitement and defiant curiosity, I changed into a carefully chosen ensemble, an outfit that felt like an armor against the prying eyes of a judgmental world. In the privacy of my suite, I rehearsed my new identity, a persona that was equal parts daring and alluring, shedding the timid layers of my former self like old skin. The journey to Club Nocturne was an adventure in itself, a drive through city streets that blurred past in streaks of neon light and dark shadows, punctuated by the occasional street lamp that flickered in silent greeting. As I approached the club's discreet entrance, tucked away in a quiet part of the city, I could feel the tension of anticipation building within me. A discreet bouncer, his expression unreadable, nodded as I presented the invitation code displayed on my phone. I stepped inside, and the atmosphere immediately swept over me like a warm, intoxicating tide. Inside Club Nocturne, the energy was palpable. Lavish decor, plush seating, and a stage where live music mingled with the sound of whispered conversations set the scene for a night of forbidden enchantment. I found myself drawn to a corner booth draped in velvet, where the flickering candlelight created a dance of shadows and light that seemed to echo the duality of my own existence. As I sipped a cocktail that was both sweet and dangerously potent, I observed the eclectic crowd around me, individuals whose eyes spoke of secrets, who moved with an unspoken understanding of the club's unorthodox rules. It wasn't long before I caught sight of someone who felt both familiar and intriguingly mysterious. A man with an enigmatic smile and a gaze that seemed to pierce through the superficial layers of my new persona approached me with an effortless charm. "I see you've answered the call," he said softly, as though my arrival had been anticipated for weeks. His voice was low and smooth, a melody that resonated with the hidden part of me that yearned for something more. He introduced himself only as Vincent, and in that moment, the world outside the club, its constraints, its expectations, faded into insignificance. Vincent led me to a quieter part of the club, away from the pulsating dance floor and the thrum of the bass, to a secluded lounge where the air was filled with the delicate notes of a jazz saxophone. Over the course of the night, our conversation blossomed from cautious introductions to the revelation of our deepest, most guarded dreams. Vincent was a man of contradictions, both refined and fiercely rebellious. He spoke of his own secret escapes, of nights spent wandering through hidden galleries and clandestine soirees that defied the stifling rules of society. His stories were like a series of whispered confessions, each one drawing me deeper into the seductive allure of this nocturnal realm. As the night unfolded, I found myself losing track of time. The club became a microcosm of freedom, a space where every whispered secret, every stolen glance, was a testament to the beauty of living on one's own terms. The forbidden dates, the allure of exclusivity, and the thrill of the unknown converged to create an intoxicating mix that made me question everything I had ever known about loyalty, duty, and the passage of time. I began to wonder, was this escape merely a fleeting indulgence, or was it the beginning of a transformation, a metamorphosis that would redefine who I was? Between sips of champagne and moments of shared laughter, I discovered that the phone alerts had not just orchestrated a series of events, they had awakened a dormant part of my soul. The carefully curated messages were like breadcrumbs left by a mysterious benefactor, or perhaps by fate itself, guiding me toward experiences that shattered the monotony of my previous existence. I recalled the times I had spent chained to a desk, the moments of quiet desperation that had filled my days with regret and longing. Now, as I sat there amid the soft glow of Club Nocturne, I felt a surge of possibility. Every alert, every secret message, had been a call to arms, a demand that I reclaim the vibrancy of my life. By the time the first hints of dawn began to break through the darkness, I realized that the night had transformed me in ways I could scarcely articulate. I had become a woman who dared to defy convention, who embraced the tantalizing promise of a secret life, a life where every moment was charged with potential and every decision carried the weight of liberation. As I left Club Nocturne, the cool night air was filled with the whispers of the city, and I could feel the pulse of a new reality coursing through my veins. The ride back to the resort was a contemplative journey. I sat by the window, watching the city transition from night to day, the skyline gradually illuminated by the soft blush of sunrise. My phone lay silent now, no more alerts to guide me, no more urgent messages to beckon me away from the life I had known. Yet the memories of the night were indelible, etched into my mind like a secret tattoo that would forever remind me of the power of stepping into the unknown. Back at the resort, in the sanctuary of my suite, I allowed myself to reflect on the surreal sequence of events. I found myself scribbling notes in a small leather-bound journal, determined to capture every nuance, the rush of adrenaline as I received the first alert, the mingling of fear and excitement as I boarded the flight, and the overwhelming sense of freedom as I navigated the opulent corridors of the resort. With each word I penned, I felt a shift inside me, a gradual transformation that was both exhilarating and frightening. I realized that what had begun as a series of mysterious phone alerts had evolved into an odyssey of self-discovery. My secret escape was no longer just an act of rebellion, it was a declaration of independence, a reclaiming of the parts of myself that had been suppressed for far too long. The upscale resort and the exclusive clubs were not merely settings for indulgence, they were stages upon which the drama of my life was unfolding, offering a glimpse into a world where I could be both vulnerable and invincible. In the quiet moments before sleep reclaimed me, I stared out the window at the slowly brightening horizon, feeling an overwhelming gratitude for the unexpected turn my life had taken. The beauty of the rising sun seemed to symbolize a fresh start, a promise that every day held the potential for transformation. I wondered about the origins of the mysterious alerts, about who or what had orchestrated this elaborate escape. Was it chance, or had destiny woven these events together to lead me toward a truth I had long been denied? That night, as I lay in bed enveloped by a newfound sense of liberation, I made a silent vow to myself. I would embrace this uncharted journey with all its uncertainties and contradictions. I would allow the allure of forbidden dates, the intimacy of whispered secrets, and the thrill of unexplored territories to redefine my identity. No longer would I be shackled by the expectations of a life that felt predetermined and stale. Instead, I would become the architect of my own destiny, a destiny that celebrated the vibrancy of the present moment and the endless possibilities of tomorrow. In those hushed hours before sleep took me, my mind replayed the night's events like a cherished dream. Vincent's enigmatic smile, the soft murmur of conversation at Club Nocturne, and the seductive promise of a secret escape all danced before my eyes. I understood that this was only the beginning, a prologue to a larger story that would challenge my assumptions and test my courage. I sensed that the phone alerts were merely the opening notes of a symphony that would crescendo into a transformative melody of love, loss, and liberation. As I finally drifted off, a gentle smile played on my lips. I had taken the first step into a world where every secret rendezvous, every forbidden date, was an opportunity to rediscover the parts of me that had been hidden away in the shadows of routine. The upscale resort and the exclusive clubs were not just venues for temporary escape, they were catalysts for a deeper exploration of who I truly was, and who I was meant to become. The sun now climbs higher in the sky as I write these words, a reflective pause before the next chapter unfolds. My phone remains quiet, its earlier flurry of messages a memory as vivid as a half-remembered dream. Yet I know that somewhere out there, new alerts may soon arrive, new invitations to secret escapades, and more glimpses into the forbidden corners of a life reborn. Every day is now a canvas painted with bold strokes of possibility, every night a promise of clandestine adventures. I am left with the resonant truth that sometimes, it is the unexpected, a simple alert on your phone, that can set in motion the unraveling of a life once thought fixed. In stepping away from the familiar, I have discovered that the most profound changes come when you dare to embrace the unknown, even if just for a few stolen hours under the cover of darkness. And though questions still linger about the origins of these mysterious invitations, I no longer fear the uncertainty. Instead, I welcome it as a necessary companion on this journey of reinvention. As I close this chapter of Part 1, I am filled with a bittersweet exhilaration, a yearning for more while cherishing every moment of this transformative escape. I know that the path ahead is uncertain and that the choices I make will continue to shape the person I am becoming. Yet, for now, I am content to live in the beauty of the present, to savor the thrill of forbidden dates, and to revel in the sense of freedom that only a secret escape can provide. This is not just a night out or a temporary break from routine, it is the beginning of an odyssey that will redefine my identity and challenge everything I once believed about destiny, desire, and self-liberation. I look forward to tomorrow with an open heart and a soul set ablaze by the possibilities of what lies ahead. The early morning after that intoxicating night found me restless and alive in a way I had never experienced before. I awoke in my suite at the resort, the soft hum of the ocean mingling with the distant rustle of palm fronds, and my mind was already reeling from the events of the previous evening. I remembered the thrill of the secret phone alerts that had whisked me away to Club Nocturne, the forbidden dates that left me feeling simultaneously liberated and vulnerable, and the taste of a new identity that was gradually unfolding. Yet even as I tried to process these heady emotions, a new alert glowed on my phone screen, a message that hinted at the next step of this uncharted journey. It read simply, "Meet me at the Meridian Lounge. Discover what lies beyond the veneer." The message carried a timestamp and a location that wasn't part of the resort's map, a sleek, modern lounge nestled in the heart of the city's financial district, a place known for its quiet opulence and secretive clientele. My heart pounded as I recalled the intensity of my previous escape. Was this another call to adventure, another opportunity to shed the constraints of my former life? Without a moment's hesitation, I accepted the invitation. I left the comfort of the resort and slipped into the urban sprawl, where the city's high-rise silhouettes and reflective glass facades formed a stark contrast to the gentle luxury of the resort. The drive was both exhilarating and nerve-wracking, a stark reminder that I was now straddling two worlds, the safe haven of opulence and the wild unpredictability of the night. As I pulled up outside the Meridian Lounge, a sleek building with tinted windows and discreet security, I felt a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. I wasn't sure what awaited me inside, but I knew that it would be a crucial piece of the puzzle that these mysterious alerts were urging me to solve. Inside, the Meridian Lounge was a realm of understated elegance. Soft lighting illuminated plush seating areas, and the gentle murmur of hushed conversations created a cocoon of intimacy amidst the din of the bustling city outside. I made my way to a private booth in a secluded corner and settled into a comfortable armchair. The lounge's ambience was punctuated by the low strains of an acoustic guitar and the occasional clink of fine crystal. I couldn't help but marvel at how different this space felt compared to the raucous energy of Club Nocturne. Here, every detail seemed carefully curated to evoke introspection and connection. It wasn't long before I sensed that I was not alone. A woman, elegant and composed, approached my table with quiet confidence. Dressed in a sharply tailored blazer and a silk blouse that hinted at both power and vulnerability, she exuded an air of mystery that immediately drew me in. "You must be the one they call Aurora," she said, her voice low and measured, as though speaking a long-kept secret. I blinked in surprise. My chosen alias was something I had adopted on a whim during my escape, a name that now seemed to define my alter ego. "Yes," I replied softly, "and you are?" Her eyes, a piercing shade of gray, held mine steadily as she offered a subtle smile. "I am Celine," she introduced, sliding into the seat opposite me. "I've been following the same signals, the same whispers. I know what it's like to yearn for a different life, a life where every moment pulses with possibility." Her words resonated deeply within me. For so long, I had felt stifled by the monotony of a predetermined routine, longing for an escape into a realm where passion and unpredictability ruled. Celine's presence was like a mirror reflecting my own hidden desires, and as we began to talk, I discovered that her story was no less compelling than mine. She was a former corporate strategist who had grown disillusioned by the relentless demands of the rat race, a woman who had risked everything to chase a dream of freedom and authenticity. Her escape had not been a spontaneous whim but a deliberate, well-planned journey into a world where she could rewrite the rules of her existence. Our conversation flowed easily, punctuated by moments of shared laughter and reflective silences. Celine spoke of the secret networks that thrive beneath the surface of society, of hidden circles where kindred spirits gathered to exchange not only ideas but also experiences that defied convention. I found myself confessing my own tale, the cascade of mysterious phone alerts, the rush of adrenaline as I boarded that last-minute flight, the seductive pull of exclusive clubs, and the allure of living a life unburdened by expectation. There was something incredibly liberating in our mutual vulnerability, a shared understanding that the call to escape was more than just a fleeting desire, it was a fundamental need to live authentically. Before long, our conversation took on a more urgent tone as Celine's eyes sparkled with a hint of mischief. "I've been receiving similar messages," she revealed. "They lead me to meetings, to places where decisions are made that change lives. Tonight, there's an event at an abandoned warehouse by the docks, a gathering of those who have embraced the unknown. They say it's where the next phase of our journey begins. Will you join me?" The intensity in her voice was impossible to ignore. It was as if she was offering me a ticket to an even deeper realm of secrets, a chance to witness firsthand the hidden currents that shaped our lives. I hesitated only for a brief moment before nodding in agreement. "I'm in," I replied, feeling a surge of exhilaration as I tucked my phone away, its previous messages now part of an unfolding tapestry of intrigue and destiny. We arranged to meet outside the lounge in 15 minutes and set off together into the cooler night air. The drive to the warehouse was an adventure in itself, a journey that took us through dimly lit backstreets and industrial zones where the hum of machinery was replaced by the distant murmur of the harbor. The further we traveled from the city center, the more I felt as though we were leaving behind a life that had once seemed so safe and predictable. Celine and I shared stories of our past, the regrets that had kept us tethered to familiar routines and the dreams that had always seemed just out of reach. With each passing mile, the weight of those old constraints lessened, replaced by the promise of a future filled with possibility. Arriving at the warehouse, we found a cluster of people gathered in the shadows, their faces lit intermittently by the flicker of makeshift lanterns and the soft glow of mobile screens. The building itself was a relic of industrial grandeur, massive steel beams, weathered walls, and expansive spaces that had once been alive with the clamor of production. Tonight, however, it had been transformed into a gathering ground for souls like ours, those who dared to break free from convention. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, as if everyone present understood that this was more than a mere party. It was a ritual, a rite of passage into a world where every heartbeat counted. Inside, the warehouse was alive with a symphony of sound. Ambient music, both haunting and uplifting, filled the cavernous space. People mingled in small clusters, exchanging ideas and experiences as though they were precious commodities. I noticed that many carried symbols of transformation, tattoos, distinctive jewelry, or subtle nods to their secret affiliations. The air was thick with an intoxicating blend of smoke from incense and the saltiness of the nearby sea, a reminder that nature and industry had once coexisted in this space, much like the duality of our own lives. Celine led me to a small stage set against a backdrop of exposed brick. There, a speaker, clad in an eclectic mix of urban streetwear and bohemian accessories, took the microphone. "Welcome, seekers," he began, his voice resonant and calm. "Tonight, we gather not as fugitives of our past, but as pioneers of our future. The messages you've received, the alerts that have summoned you here, are the echoes of a deeper calling, a call to embrace the richness of life, to discard the chains of conformity, and to create our own destinies." His words stirred something inside me, a mix of awe and fierce determination. I felt as though every alert, every secret rendezvous, had been leading to this very moment, a moment where I was finally allowed to be the person I had always yearned to be. After the speaker's address, the crowd was invited to participate in what he called the unveiling. One by one, individuals stepped forward to share a secret, a regret, or a hope that had long been hidden beneath layers of social masks. I watched as a man recounted the loss of a dream he had once cherished, a woman revealed the reasons behind her long silent tears, and others bared their souls with a vulnerability that was both raw and beautiful. It was as if every confession was a small act of rebellion against the constraints that had once defined us. When it was finally my turn, my heart pounded in my ears. I took a deep breath, steadying myself, and stepped forward into the dim light. For several moments, the world narrowed down to the sound of my own voice as I spoke of the routine and the monotony I had known, of the suffocating expectations that had once dictated every aspect of my life. I spoke of the pain of feeling invisible, of dreams deferred, and of the desperate yearning for a life that was truly my own. I revealed the raw emotions that had built up over years of quiet submission, each word a declaration of the self I was ready to leave behind. The silence that followed was heavy with understanding, and I felt a profound sense of liberation, as if the very act of confession had lifted a veil that had obscured the beauty of who I could become. When I returned to my seat, a hush fell over the crowd, a moment of collective catharsis that resonated deep within me. Celine's eyes met mine, and in that glance, I saw an unspoken promise, that together, we were stepping into a realm where the past could be left behind, and the future would be written with our own hands. As the night wore on, the atmosphere in the warehouse shifted from solemnity to a celebration of life's fragile beauty. Music swelled, and people began to dance as though every moment was a precious gift. I joined the throng, my body moving to the rhythm of liberation, feeling more alive with each passing beat. Amid the swirling crowd, Vincent, whose enigmatic smile had ignited the spark of my previous escape, appeared once more. His presence was a familiar anchor in this tumultuous sea of emotions. "I see you found your voice," he said softly as we crossed paths, his tone both teasing and approving. "Tonight, you have truly embraced the essence of freedom." His words sent a shiver down my spine, reaffirming the transformation that was slowly but surely taking shape within me. 4 hours, the night unfolded like an intricate dance between shadows and light. Conversations, confessions, and spontaneous acts of joy wove together into a tapestry of human connection. I found myself drawn into intimate discussions with strangers who, like me, were seeking redemption and renewal. There were moments of laughter so pure they felt like a balm for old wounds, and moments of silence so deep they echoed the timelessness of our shared existence. I realized that this gathering wasn't just a celebration of rebellion, it was a declaration that every secret and every sorrow could be transformed into a stepping stone toward a more authentic life. As dawn began to paint the horizon in soft hues of pink and gold, the revelry slowly subsided, and a serene calm replaced the electric energy of the night. I stepped out onto the warehouse's rooftop, where the first light of morning caressed the faces of those few who remained. The city spread out before us like a living canvas, a reminder that even in the darkness, beauty and hope could be found. I took a moment to breathe deeply, feeling the crisp air fill my lungs as I contemplated the journey that had brought me here. Each phone alert, each secret meeting, had chipped away at the walls that had confined me for so long. Back at the resort later that morning, I retreated to the sanctuary of my suite to process the events of the night. I opened my leather-bound journal and began to write feverishly, capturing every nuance of my emotions and every detail of the encounters that had reshaped my reality. In those quiet moments, I realized that the transformation was not a singular event but an ongoing process, a series of awakenings that would continue to redefine who I was. I was no longer the timid soul who once clung to the familiar. I had tasted the intoxicating nectar of rebellion and discovered that true freedom lay in embracing the unknown. Throughout the following days, new phone alerts continued to punctuate my routine, each one an invitation to further explore this hidden network of desire, passion, and defiance. One message led me to a secluded rooftop bar where art, music, and conversation melded into an atmosphere of exquisite intimacy. Another summoned me to an underground speakeasy in a historic quarter of the city, where the rules of society seemed to evaporate in the glow of candlelight and the murmurs of shared secrets. With every encounter, I found pieces of myself I never knew existed, the audacity to dream, the courage to feel deeply, and the determination to reclaim a life that was unequivocally mine. Celine and I became inseparable companions on this journey. We spent long afternoons exploring hidden galleries, wandering through quiet parks, and even sharing quiet meals in tiny, unassuming bistros that seemed far removed from the cold, impersonal world I had once known. In her presence, I found not only a kindred spirit but also a mirror reflecting my innermost aspirations. She taught me that every act of defiance, no matter how small, was a triumph over the limitations imposed by a rigid society. With her, I began to understand that the true measure of our lives wasn't in the number of days we survived, but in the passion with which we dared to live. Yet, even as I reveled in this newfound freedom, there lingered a bittersweet awareness that every escape came with its own set of challenges. There were moments when the weight of secrets and the fear of being discovered crept into my thoughts. I would catch a glimpse of my reflection in a window and momentarily see the person I used to be, a person defined by caution and conformity. Those fleeting moments of doubt were quickly overpowered by the fervor of my new existence, but they served as a reminder that transformation was not without its costs. One particular evening, after an intense day of exploration and whispered conversations, I received another alert that left me both exhilarated and anxious. The next chapter awaits at the Elysian room. Come prepared to confront what lies beneath. I wasn't entirely sure what this meant, but I sensed that it was a summons to face the deeper layers of my transformation, the hidden wounds, the lingering regrets, and the truths that had been carefully buried beneath years of suppression. I arrived at the Elysian room, a sophisticated venue tucked away in a quiet district known for its bohemian charm, just as twilight settled in. The interior was a harmonious blend of contemporary art and vintage elegance, its walls adorned with provocative paintings and sculptures that spoke of human passion and mortality. The air was thick with anticipation, and I could feel the pulse of countless untold stories resonating in the ambient music. Here, among a select group of individuals who had gathered to share their most intimate truths, I sensed that the time had come to confront the shadows that had long haunted me. The gathering was intimate, the room arranged in a circle that fostered a sense of collective vulnerability. One by one, participants shared their stories, tales of lost love, of missed opportunities, and of battles fought against inner demons. As each person spoke, I felt a deep empathy and recognition. I had always believed that my escape was merely an act of rebellion, but here I realized it was also a journey toward healing. When it was my turn, I hesitated, the weight of my past pressing against my newfound courage. I took a deep breath and began to speak, my voice wavering at first as I recounted the years of quiet resignation, the suffocating demands of a life devoid of passion, and the long-held dream of breaking free. With every word, the room grew still, the silence punctuated by the raw honesty of my confession. In that vulnerable moment, I experienced a profound release, a shedding of the old self that had been hiding behind layers of doubt and conformity. The faces around me shone with compassion and understanding, and I knew that this was a crucial step in my transformation. I had confronted the pain of my past, and in doing so, I felt a lightness that promised a future unburdened by regret. After the session, Celine took my hand and led me to a quiet corner of the room. "You did beautifully," she whispered, her eyes filled with gentle pride. "Every secret we carry is a piece of our journey, acknowledging them is what sets us free." Her words became a soothing balm, reinforcing my resolve to continue embracing the unknown, to honor every facet of my identity, even the parts that I once tried to hide. The days that followed were a whirlwind of introspection and exploration. New phone alerts kept coming, each one guiding me to new experiences and deeper encounters. I found myself navigating through layers of high society gatherings, underground art shows, and clandestine meetings that blurred the lines between business and pleasure, freedom and risk. Every experience peeled back another layer of who I had been, and slowly, the mosaic of my identity began to emerge in vivid detail. By the time the week drew to a close, I was no longer the person who had once been shackled by routine and fear. I had learned to cherish the beauty in uncertainty, to find strength in vulnerability, and to celebrate the endless possibilities that lay in the intersections of forbidden dates, secret escapes, and honest revelations. I wasn't just chasing an escape, I was building a life defined by passion, authenticity, and the courage to embrace both light and shadow. That night, as I returned to my suite after one of the most transformative gatherings at the Elysian room, I sat by the window and watched the city lights twinkle like scattered dreams. I reflected on the incredible journey I had embarked upon, a journey that had been sparked by a simple phone alert but had grown into a full-blown odyssey of self-discovery. I knew that many challenges still lay ahead, that the road would twist and turn in ways I couldn't predict. But I also knew that I had found something irreplaceable, a spark of life that no one could extinguish, a sense of purpose that went far beyond the superficial thrills of a secret escape. In the solitude of that quiet hour before dawn, I penned a final entry in my journal for the day, a promise to myself to never let the fire of transformation die out. I wrote of Celine's unwavering support, Vincent's mysterious charm, and the countless souls I had encountered who had, like me, dared to step out of the shadows and into the light. I vowed to keep following the trail of phone alerts, to never shy away from the next invitation to explore the forbidden, and to continually seek the truth hidden in the interstices of everyday life. As the first rays of the morning sun spilled into my room, I felt a profound gratitude for the journey that was unfolding. I had come to understand that the secret escapes and forbidden dates were not merely acts of rebellion, they were acts of creation. Each one was a step toward crafting a life that was uniquely mine, a life where I could finally be free to dream, love, and live with unabashed passion. I knew that this journey was far from over. The phone alerts were like a heartbeat, an ever-present reminder that life was calling me to take risks, to embrace change, and to continue writing my story in bold, unyielding strokes. And so, with a deep, steady breath and a heart brimming with determination, I stepped into the new day, ready for whatever mystery awaited around the next bend. I awoke before dawn, the soft murmur of a city still half asleep mingling with the rhythm of my own heartbeat. The previous days had unfolded like an intoxicating dream, a blur of upscale escapes, hushed confessions and shadowed halls, and encounters that pushed me ever closer to the edge of who I once was. But tonight, a final alert had arrived, a message that vibrated with urgency: tonight at the Apex. Prepare to face your truth. The Apex was rumored to be a secret gathering place known only to those who had embraced the path of transformation, a location where the masks we wear finally fall away and we are forced to confront both our past and our future. I spent the morning in quiet contemplation. I reread the journal entries I'd penned in my suite, each word a reminder of how far I had come, from the timid soul shackled by routine to the daring seeker who now reveled in the unknown. Celine's steady presence, Vincent's enigmatic smiles, and the countless shared confessions at the Elysian room had all become part of my new mosaic of self. Yet beneath the exhilaration lay a tremor of uncertainty. The Apex represented a final test, a reckoning with every secret and every fear I had long buried. I knew that tonight, I must lay bare the full tapestry of my transformation. I dressed slowly and deliberately, choosing an outfit that balanced boldness with vulnerability. In the mirror, I saw a reflection that was both familiar and entirely new, a person defined by scars and triumphs, by the wisdom gleaned from countless nights of rebellion and revelation. With one last deep breath, I left my suite and set out into the pre-dawn chill. The drive to the Apex was a solitary pilgrimage along winding city roads. The urban landscape gradually gave way to quieter, more industrial neighborhoods. Shadows of abandoned warehouses and old brick buildings rose up against a slowly lightening sky, evoking memories of the nights I had spent in secret venues and hidden corridors. I recalled the thrill of stepping into Club Nocturne, the electric pulse of underground speakeasies, and the raw honesty of intimate gatherings. Every encounter had been a stepping stone, guiding me toward this final destination. When I arrived at the Apex, I found it tucked away in an inconspicuous building, its exterior a modest facade that belied the intensity of what lay within. The bouncer at the door regarded me with a nod of quiet recognition, as though he too understood that I was not here by accident, but by a series of choices that could not be undone. I stepped through the entrance and into a cavernous space where flickering lights and carefully arranged seating created an atmosphere at once intimate and electric. Inside, a hush had fallen over the gathering. The room was arranged in a large circle, with plush cushions and low tables forming an almost ritualistic setting. There was no stage here, only the presence of dozens of individuals, each one a seeker, a storyteller, or a wanderer who had answered the call of transformation. I felt the weight of their gazes, a collective expectation that tonight would be a turning point. The air was thick with the mingled scents of incense, aged wood, and something indefinably human, a heady blend of hope and fear. At the center of the circle, a single spotlight illuminated a small wooden lectern. A figure stepped forward, a woman whose eyes burned with quiet determination and whose presence commanded every attention. "Welcome, fellow travelers," she began, her voice clear and resonant in the stillness. "We have gathered here at the Apex to confront our truths. Every step of your journey has led you to this moment. Tonight, you must not hide from the parts of yourself you have long kept secret. For in truth, every scar, every whispered regret, and every act of defiance has shaped the person you are becoming. Her words sent a ripple through the room, stirring emotions that had lain dormant beneath layers of carefully constructed facades. I felt my pulse quicken as I prepared myself for what was to come, a final unraveling of the self, a moment of raw vulnerability that would either set me free or force me to confront my darkest fears. One by one, participants began to share their stories. A middle-aged man recounted how he had lost his career to the relentless pressures of corporate life, only to rediscover passion in the arts. A young woman told of a love lost in the chaos of conformity and the rebellious decision to start anew. Each narrative was a confession, a small surrender to the truth of one's existence. As I listened, I felt both solidarity and a quiet determination. Each story was a mirror, reflecting pieces of my own hidden heart. Finally, my name was called. The circle's attention shifted to me, and I felt as though the world had contracted to a single point of silence. My throat tightened as I stepped forward. In that moment, I understood that this was not just a public confession, it was an act of liberation. With trembling hands, I unfolded the pages of my own story that I had so meticulously recorded in my journal, each word a testament to the trials and triumphs of my recent escape from the mundane. I began, my voice soft at first, then growing with resolve. For years, I lived a life dictated by the expectations of others, a life measured by routines and suffocated by conformity. I was content, perhaps, in a way, but always with a longing for something more. I yearned to break free from the chains of obligation, to taste the sweetness of uncharted freedom, even if just for a fleeting moment. I paused, scanning the circle. Faces nodded in quiet empathy. Then, one day, my phone began to ring with alerts, messages that promised secret escapes and forbidden rendezvous. Those alerts became a lifeline, a call to embrace the parts of me I had long buried. With every secret meeting, every hidden club, and every whispered confession, I began to see that life was meant to be lived boldly. I cast off the timid identity of the person I once was and dared to become someone new. And yet, tonight, as I stand here, I must confront the cost of that transformation. A murmur of understanding passed through the room. I continued, recalling the moments that had reshaped me, the intoxicating rush of boarding a last-minute flight, the clandestine encounters with strangers who had become allies, and the moments of quiet introspection that followed every escapade. I have learned that every escape, every act of rebellion, is a double-edged sword. With each new beginning comes the weight of secrets, the haunting echoes of the past, and the fear of losing oneself in the pursuit of freedom. But I choose to believe that true liberation comes not from denying our history, but from embracing it, scars and all. As my words hung in the charged air, I saw tears glisten in the eyes of some in the circle. I recalled the moments when Celine's gentle encouragement had lifted me out of despair, when Vincent's knowing smile had assured me that I was not alone. Tonight, I release the fears that once held me captive. I accept the costs of transformation and pledge to continue walking this uncharted path, no matter how daunting it may seem. I embrace my past, with its regrets and its lessons, as an inseparable part of the person I am becoming. When I finished speaking, the silence that followed was profound, a silence that was not empty, but full of understanding, healing, and unspoken promises. For a long moment, I simply stood there, the weight of every secret and every choice melding into a single, liberating clarity. Then, one by one, others in the circle began to applaud softly, their hands clapping in a rhythm that echoed like a heartbeat throughout the room. The woman at the lectern stepped forward once more. "You have all taken a brave step tonight," she said gently. "In sharing your truths, you have not only unburdened your souls, but also inspired those around you. Remember, the journey of transformation is never complete. It is a continuous evolution, a series of chapters written by our choices, our courage, and our willingness to embrace both light and shadow." After the formal confessions, the atmosphere in the apex transformed once again. The circle broke up into smaller groups, and for hours, we spoke with one another in deep, unguarded conversations. I found myself seated beside Celine, whose presence had been a steady beacon throughout my journey. Her eyes, soft with compassion, met mine as we discussed the delicate balance between risk and reward. "Every moment of vulnerability," she murmured, "is a moment of strength. It is through our rawest confessions that we truly find ourselves." I nodded, feeling the truth of her words resonate deep within me. Outside, the first full light of day was beginning to chase away the lingering shadows of the night. The collective catharsis we had shared at the apex felt like a baptism, a purging of old doubts and a reaffirmation of our commitment to live authentically. I stepped out onto a small balcony attached to the building, letting the cool morning air wash over me. In that quiet solitude, I gazed out over the awakening city, a vast tapestry of possibilities stretching out before me. I thought back on the journey that had led me here, the moment when my phone first buzzed with a mysterious alert, the nights spent dancing in hidden clubs, the secret rendezvous in lavish resorts, and the intimate gatherings where I had bared my soul. Each experience had chipped away at the shell of my former self, revealing a person of infinite depth, complexity, and resilience. I realized that the transformation I had undergone was not simply about rebellion, it was about reclaiming a lost part of my soul, about daring to live with passion, authenticity, and the knowledge that even our most painful secrets have the power to set us free. Later that day, I rejoined a small group of fellow travelers from the apex. We gathered at a nearby cafe, a sunlit space filled with the aroma of fresh coffee and the soft hum of conversation. In that warm, familiar setting, we exchanged stories of what the night had meant to us. Some spoke of lost dreams revived, others of the courage to face the harsh truths of their pasts. I listened intently, absorbing every word as if it were a fragment of a larger mosaic of human experience. We discussed how the journey was far from over, that every alert, every secret invitation, was merely another chapter in an ongoing saga of self-discovery. As the day progressed, I found myself planning the next steps of my life. No longer did I fear the unknown, for I had learned that life was an ever-evolving series of moments, each one an opportunity to grow, to love, and to redefine what it meant to be truly free. The lessons from the apex, from every clandestine encounter and every whispered secret, had taught me that true liberation is found in the acceptance of all that we are. I resolved to honor every facet of my identity, the daring escapist, the vulnerable confessor, and the resilient soul who refused to be confined by convention. That evening, as twilight once again draped the city in gentle hues of purple and blue, I returned to my suite at the resort. I sat by the window and took out my leather-bound journal, now filled with pages of raw honesty and transformative memories. With deliberate care, I began to write, capturing the essence of my journey in a cascade of words. I wrote of the faces I had encountered, the places that had become sacred sanctuaries of liberation, and the inner metamorphosis that had reshaped my very being. Each word was a promise, a commitment to continue seeking the beauty in vulnerability, the strength in truth, and the endless potential of living boldly. In the quiet intimacy of that moment, I realized that the secret escapes and forbidden dates were not merely acts of defiance against a mundane existence. They were rituals of renewal, ceremonies that called forth the best parts of our humanity and allowed us to reimagine the boundaries of possibility. I acknowledged that the journey ahead would likely be fraught with challenges, moments of doubt, setbacks, and the ever-present risk of being drawn back into the safety of old routines. Yet I also knew that the spark that had ignited this transformation was far too potent to ever be extinguished. I closed my journal and gazed out at the horizon, where the last remnants of daylight surrendered to the emerging glow of evening. I felt a quiet certainty that, no matter what lay ahead, I was prepared to continue walking the path of self-discovery, to honor the cost of transformation and celebrate every secret, every scar, as a testament to the journey I had chosen. In that sacred silence, I whispered a final vow to myself, a promise to embrace life with all its contradictions, to cherish the beauty of each fleeting moment, and to remain forever open to the call of the unknown. And so, as the city lights began to flicker on one by one, I stepped out into the night with a heart unburdened by fear and a soul ready to write the next chapter of my story. The apex had shown me that every ending is, in fact, a new beginning, a chance to cast aside the constraints of our past selves and to emerge renewed, ever daring, and ever hopeful. In that final act of reckoning, I realized that the secret alerts, the upscale escapes, and the forbidden dates were not mere diversions. They were the lifeblood of a transformation that had redefined my existence. They had taught me that true freedom lies in the courage to face one's own truth, to revel in the beauty of imperfection, and to forge a destiny written by our own hands. Tonight, as I merge once more with the pulse of the night, I carry with me every lesson, every whispered secret, and every cherished memory. I know that the journey is far from over, that there will always be new alerts, new invitations to explore the uncharted depths of my soul. And I welcome them all with open arms, for in the embrace of the unknown, I have found the truest version of myself. This is my final testament, a declaration that I have chosen to live boldly, to love fiercely, and to journey endlessly toward a horizon that holds infinite promise. With each step I take, I honor the legacy of every secret encounter and every transformative moment that has led me to this point. I am no longer the person I once was, confined by fear and routine. I am a seeker of truth, a rebel with a cause, and a storyteller whose heart beats to the rhythm of liberation. As the night deepens and the stars emerge to crown the heavens, I take one last look at the world around me, a world that, despite its imperfections, is a masterpiece of endless possibility. And with that, I step forward into the new dawn, ready to continue the journey of a lifetime, with every secret, every risk, and every revelation etched into the very fabric of my soul.